Okay, I think we're up and recording. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being on this continuing education, and it's a beautiful day outside. I love it when the sun is shining and it's cool, fresh air outside. I'm an outdoor person. I'm the one that when the good weather starts coming around, it's like I want to be outside. I don't want to be inside. Somebody will have to do one of these calls from the outside and not the inside. That would rock my world. So today I've had a lot of people ask on what I do for my animals and what can you use, what can you not use, and how do you apply it. And this is for all animals, whether everything from chickens to whatever. Most of us have our dogs, we have our cats. I have both those. I have chickens, I have horses. And so how do you apply essential oils to them? And if you have an animal that is in dire need, so whether they've been diagnosed with something and you feel that you want to use something on the natural scale, that's what this is all about, right? This is about learning what you can do as an alternative solution for what the veterinarian might want to give you or give to your animal, or what you can or even the doctor for yourself. So it's our choice as to what we decide to do. Now, that's not saying don't follow your veterinarian or your doctor's instructions, okay? That's not what this call is all about. What this call is about is to give you some education on the alternatives that you could think about so that you can try this for yourself. And I have found that in most cases, there's an equivalent to what the doctors are giving you or what the veterinarians are giving you that we can use as a natural solution or an alternative. So we're going to talk about wound salve today, which is super simple and easy to make. And a lot of people don't think about that. Instead of having to go rush down to buy something, there are things that you can make at home that are cost effective for one thing, and it's all natural ingredients for another. So just to tell you a little bit about myself, I actually left the dental world after 30 years to pursue doTERRA as an opportunity for me to help other people in a different facet. So I really love the journey that I've been on. It's been incredible. I've met some wonderful people along the way. I think I've been on an airplane more in my entire life in the last few years. Growing up, being on an airplane was the last thing because my mother gets so nauseous when it comes to any kind of motion. So needless to say, there were no cruises, no airplanes. We drove everywhere we went. And even at that, she couldn't be in the back seat. She really had to watch what she was doing. So I also grew up with her being allergic to pretty much everything. So makeup and perfumes and all that good stuff was never something that we really typically had in the home. So I guess that's kind of where I got my start of there's got to be an alternative. And I've always been that way. Even when I've been diagnosed with problems, and in my case, it's rheumatoid arthritis, which started out as scoliosis when I was 12. So it's like, there's got to be an alternative besides surgery, right? So that was me. So fast forward, let's look into what we can do for our pets that we have at home. And there's a variety of things, but the first thing I want you to understand is there is a difference in essential oils. That is a very important part on when we decide to choose an alternative for our health and wellness, okay? I've chosen doTERRA because I feel that it is the best that you can get on the market. The reason for that is their certified pure therapeutic grade, or CPTG. Now that is a trademark, but what that means to you and me is that it's a standard of quality has to be met every single time that they decide to put an essential oil on the shelf for us to purchase. Without that, then you're getting yourself into other issues, because a lot of your essential oil companies out there adulterate their essential oils, because the bottom line is the dollar, how much they're putting in their pocket. The integrity of doTERRA is so great that not only are we getting a great product because it meets a quality, we're servicing people all over the globe. And I think that's great that we're actually helping people with a source of income, okay? That's, I think, in my book, not only is it important to get a good quality product, it's also that good product is also helping someone somewhere else. There's a lot of people out in this world that don't have what we have. We take running water for granted. We take having a toilet for granted, right? We take having electricity for granted, and it really is not something that, when you get into those, I have not been there, and someday I will, but there are those people that don't have that. I'm not talking about homeless people. I'm talking about people in third world countries that are still developing and do not have that luxury like we have. So doTERRA stands for something. It's not just about the product. It's not just about the money that's being made, because doTERRA was never about the money. It was always about the product. That's why we only have certain select few essential oils, because of that certified pure therapeutic grade. So keep that in mind. And even if it's 100%, it says 100% essential oil on the bottle. If you go to the dollar store, I guarantee that anything that you see in the dollar store is not going to be all essential oil, but they only have to have 10% in that bottle to even call it that, okay? Because somewhere in that bottle there is a pure, quote, pure essential oil in there. So please be careful. Always read a label, because it will tell you if it's ingestible or not, right? That's another factor. Because some of the stuff that I'm going to teach you is ingestible, okay? So wound salve is on a basis of a, just like you would go to the store, it's a salve, right? It's like a cream. And there's different ways of doing this, but this is my way. So I use fractionated coconut oil. I also use, and I get it in big gallons. So I use a lot of it. So yeah, I have, big pump spray. Yeah, that's me. I do a lot of DIY stuff. So there are different places you can get your fractionated coconut oil, especially online. But make sure that you understand that when you buy certain things online in a gallon size like this, there are other, you pay for hazardous materials. So make sure that you're looking at all of the expenses. If it's better, if you're constantly making things, then that might be the best alternative for you. But you might just go down to like your local supplement store, or even and buy some coconut oil or fractionated coconut oil. The other thing, and I would always suggest an organic type of fractionated coconut oil. And then, of course, then we have the solid. I get mine from Costco. Okay, it's the organic virgin coconut oil, and I use it for cooking as well as some of my recipes, right? And I'm also one of those, I really like to repurpose things. So if you get anything in a glass jar, clean it up, take the label off, and repurpose it, okay? Depending on what you're going to use it for, make sure that the mouth is open or big enough that you can get fingers inside there, because if that's not big enough, then it doesn't serve the purpose for you, okay? There are many, so that's the easiest way to repurpose. You can buy containers like this. This is a little tin, and it's very wide, so it's easy to get your fingers in there. This is probably the what most people would want to use, because if you're going to get around your animals, it's not something that's going to break. But I do have some big glass jars that I use out in my tack room. I have them all the time. because I use it for my horses, and so I want a lot. I don't want just a little bit. You can also do or use, there's other things. Now this is another type of jar. It has a screw-on lid, right? And this is something you can find in the canning department of like Walmart or any place like that that has your canning products. And then you can also, I have used other containers like this. Okay, this is just a pop-off lid. It's like a, what do you say, like a paint, like kind of container. And you can get these at like the dollar store. Now, a lot of people are like, well, what about the plastic? Now, one thing I want to tell you about essential oils that move to plastic. Plastic is made with petrochemicals. In other words, it is like an oil-based, right? But it's a petroleum-based. So essential oils can actually eat your plastic. So make sure that if you get whatever plastic you're getting, get a quality plastic. Don't get the really cheap old plastic. So there's like a number 1 and a number 2, and there's different grades of plastic. And these are pretty heavy duty plastic. They're not real thin, and that's kind of how you can see it. It should say, but sometimes they don't. So just make sure it's a more heavy. Now I'm blending my essential oils with something so that it's not going to necessarily, it's going to dilute it enough to where you won't, it shouldn't eat the plastic, but still continue to get a good plastic. Okay. Okay. And then also for spray bottles and things like that, you can get any of this stuff you can get on just Google search anything on the internet and you'll find what you need. And there's tons of different prices out there as well. Okay, so the first thing I'm doing is going to show you how to make a wound salve. Now this is something you can use on your horses, your chickens, your goats, whatever you have, right? Your dog. And the first thing I'm using is the fractionated, the coconut, the solid coconut oil. And then I have a microwave. If you don't have a microwave, just heat it up so that you melt it and it becomes a liquid. So I've already pre-done this. This is about a cup's worth of coconut oil. Once this is cooled off, this is going to be solid, all right? Now, I don't want it as solid as this. This is too much, right? We already know that regular coconut oil, solid, it will melt with warmth in your hand, but I don't want to wait for it to warm up in my hand. I want it to be on whatever I'm using it for. I want to first tell you the difference between a fractionated coconut oil and a solid coconut oil, because they both say coconut oil, but one is fractionated. What they've done is the fractionated is just a liquid. So they've taken out all the solid parts of the coconut oil. All the fats are out of it. And so fractionated coconut oil does not have a fragrance to it. And the molecules are small enough that it soaks into the skin very quickly, okay? So that's an important part to using when we start thinking about what we're going to use with our essential oils. You can use other oils like almond oil, sunflower seed oil, jojoba oil. I mean, there's different grapeseed oil. There's lots of different carrier oils, as we call it. But I like the fractionated coconut. That's the main choice because it is a small molecule that soaks into the skin. Your other oils, like your olive oil and all those, they have a bigger molecule and they don't soak into the skin very quickly because the molecules are too big, and that's why it has that greasy feeling to it, and that's not something you want. Okay, so, and I totally forgot to get all my oils. I don't even have them here in front of me. That's not good because I can't show you how to put them in here. So let me go grab them. They're not far. Okay. Sorry about that. I was like, I think I have everything here. No, I don't. Okay. So there's a lot of essential oils we can choose from. And what are you looking for in a wound salve? Okay. In mine, I have lavender, frankincense, sandalwood, helichrysum, and oregano. Now you can add some melaleuca to that because melaleuca is really antibacterial. And so that is something that I did start adding later on. Now, as a label, if you were going to create a label, and let's say you were going to give this out to someone, I always, whatever essential oil you have the most of is always going to be the first on the label, and then second, third, fourth, and fifth, and so forth, right? Now, with a cup full of this, I would add about another quarter cup of fractionated coconut oil. And the reason that I do this, and let me get some here. Well, I'll try to make sure I don't put it on me. The reason why I add the fractionated, and I'm going to make a mess, I just know I am. This one doesn't want to run very well. Is because I don't want something that is really solid. And so by adding the coconut oil, the fractionated into my cup, and I have coconut oil all over me, and that's going to keep it once it cools and it starts solidifying, then it's not going to be as hard as our regular coconut oil, okay? Because I want to be able to get some salve and put it on something. And so you don't want it real soupy, and you don't want it to be very solid. So that's me. You might decide once it does solidify, you might decide that you want it hard, more solid. You might decide you want it a little bit more, a little softer, I should say. And that's up to you. You can always reheat, right? Even after you've added your essential oils, you can reheat. You don't want to overheat it, right? Because you do have your essential oils in there. Because if essential oils get too hot, then they lose their composition, okay? So in this case, I've added about 10 drops of lavender, and then I add about 5 drops of frankincense, and now that's with this 1 cup. Sometimes I make a whole lot more than this. And then I add a couple drops of sandalwood, a couple drops of helichrysum, 1 drop of oregano, and if you add the melaleuca, only 1 drop, okay? To give you an idea of how oregano and melaleuca work, or even with oregano, there's been studies done that you can have like 64-gallon size tote with 1 drop of oregano, and it still inhibits the growth of bacteria. That's crazy. There actually is a study about that. I'll have to find it one day and actually get it out there for you guys. But it's really interesting. Now you might decide something different. Now the reason why I decided these particular oils is lavender is very calming. But lavender is very good to the skin. It's very soothing, very healing to the skin. So like if we have a burn, for instance, lavender is great for burns, okay? I think everybody should have lavender in their kitchen, along with a really good magnet like lithium magnets. Love them. Frankincense is another one that's really good for the skin and helping its healing process, okay? And it's also good for neurological, we know that. Sandalwood, all these are good as far as improving and helping the healing of skin and other wounds, because typically if it's a wound we're looking at, we want something that's going to be soothing and very healing to the skin. So sandalwood and helichrysum are the same thing. It helps accelerate the your wounds healing process, or the body's healing process. Oregano and the melaleuca are there to help in the bacteria that's in that wound, so that you get rid of the bacteria growth that's there. Now, so this is the wound set. So once you're done with that, you want to whatever containers you use, you want to put your liquid in your containers before it gets solid, okay, and then let it get solid, okay. And for most people, I think you forget, because like here, this is frankincense. It takes just 2 drops is all I take, because it's very potent. That's another reason why when using an essential oil, that you know that it is a true essential oil and its potency. So the potency is the reason why we can get by with only a couple of drops, because it goes a long way. So like with peppermint, for instance, that's a really big eye-opener, because peppermint, 1 drop of peppermint can give you the equivalent of 28 cups of tea. That's huge, right? And I just talked about oregano. In a 64-gallon tote of water with 1 drop can still inhibit the growth of bacteria in a petri dish, okay? 1 drop by itself is it's so potent that in a scientific experiment in there, if you've got other petri dishes around, you have to remove them, because it will still inhibit, even though that's over there and that's in that petri dish, it still affects the other ones. It's that potent. So when I say choose an essential oil for its potency, that's where that certified pure therapeutic grade comes in, because it meets the standard of quality, okay? Very, very important. Now, if you're making a spray, okay, you can get any kind of spray bottle. You can get a glass one if you want. This is plastic, and this is just water in here, okay? You can use fractionated coconut oil if you would like. That's a choice. So because it's a quantity, right, you may not want to use just fractionated coconut oil, because that gets a little more on the spendy side. So by using water, we can still use water, but here's what I'm going to say about that. Oil and water do not mix, right? We all know about oil and water vinegar, for your salads. You have to constantly shake it up, right? So if you use water, you're going to put your essential oils in here, but it's going to float on the surface, right? So how's that going to help us if we're going to spray, and the spray starts from the bottom of the jar, right? And you can get these anywhere too. There are places like aromatools.com, oillife.com, or you can just Google search what you're looking for online, and you'll find something somewhere, and you decide what you want to pay for it and how many you want. What you can do is you add some vinegar to your water, okay, because vinegar is not something that is evasive to your animals. And I use the one with the mother. This is an organic vinegar. And it gives your essential oils something to bind to in the water, okay? And that's pretty super simple. And no more than, like in this case, I'm just going to use a little bit, like maybe a teaspoonful. And I'm just going to add some in here. Okay, so makes my water cloudy. And then you can add your essential oils to it. And it smells good. You can even use this for yourself. Okay, and then you can add your essential oils. So, and we can do the same recipe in this. This is only a this is 4 ounces. I think this is a 4 ounce. And so there's two of them in there, and I can actually see a little bit, but then it's like goes away. But the drops are still there. Now, when it sets overnight, your essential oils will actually bind with the water. So if you've ever tried this, and you can experiment with this. So get yourself some water, put it in the refrigerator, and put whatever you want in there, like lemon, for instance. If you like lemon in your water, put it in the refrigerator and leave it overnight. Okay, so 24 hours later, you won't really see your lemon floating on the surface. What you'll find is that your water, all your water tastes like lemon because it binds with the water. It just takes time, okay? If you are going to use this, the water as a spray or a wound salve as a spray, then what you're going to do is make sure that you at least shake it a couple times before you use it, okay? And obviously, you're not going to use this whole thing at once. You're going to actually it's going to sit for a while. So it's going to bind with the water, all your essential oils, okay? So I will give you, so is there any questions about that? Or anybody have anything to add? Okay. Now, since I have horses, it's getting to that time of year when we have flies. But here's what I will say. Every place you go has different fly world, okay? What works for your animals is different. And I've had to learn that because I've been that person to buy commercial grade fly spray, the natural stuff, and then I've tried a lot of stuff, and half of it never works. Or it works for a few minutes, and then it seems like it's back to the same old thing. So I finally found a recipe that works for the flies here in the Northwest, or at least in my area with my horses. And it's really easy. It's very simple. And so what I did is I did my research about essential oils. I looked for, and we have tools. We have different books that you can look on. You can look online. And that's why when you're searching for an essential oil that you're looking to use in like a wound salve or a spray, what do you want to see? What are the kind of results that you want to see? So you might decide to use something entirely different than I am. But I wanted something, not only am I going to, it's going to help in the fly population on my horses, but it's soothing. It's going to be good for digestion. It's going to be good for other things. So when you use essential oils, just because you're using it for a specific thing, it actually can give you a secondary result for something else. And so I kind of looked into all that and decided what oils I really wanted to use. Now doTERRA does have an essential oil blend called TerraShield that a lot of people use just by itself. But I found that it wasn't enough for my animals. But it is something that you can use for you yourself as well, because TerraShield does not have the DEETs in it. It's all natural product, and so you can spray it on yourself. It's really good for the mosquitoes, but I wanted more than that. So what I've done and what I found is I've used thyme, 10 drops, 10 drops of TerraShield, 10 drops of rosemary, 5 drops of cedarwood, and 5 drops of bergamot, or bergamot, however you want to say it. Now that's in a pint or the normal bigger spray bottle that you can get for your horses. And because I have so many, I make up one batch, and that's enough for all of my horses because I have 6 horses. Okay, so it doesn't take long before it's gone. And so it doesn't have to sit very long. But I do use water. I do use the vinegar in that water as well. Okay, now I'm going to use a little bit more than a teaspoon, but it really doesn't require a whole lot. You just want something in your water to help bind your oils with the water, okay? Now, cedar wood is something that I chose because cedar wood is another really good soothing skin, okay? And so if you've been in the horse world, cedar is something that like cedar shavings, but some horses have a sensitivity to cedar. So this, you'll make sure that you know that your horse does not have that sensitivity to cedar. Bergamot actually is something that is very calming. It's very good for the digestive system. It's very good for a colicky horse. And so I wanted something that would benefit in that way so that I wouldn't have to worry about a horse being so colicky. Because even if I don't want to use this as a fly repellent, I can use it in the wintertime for something more. Bergamot is a great essential oil to help with colic, especially in just even aromatically, because you can use these aromatically, topically, and internally, and bergamot is one of those you can use all three ways. And I've had people actually do this, and I, knock on wood, I haven't had a colicky horse, at least not any time recent. Thyme is another natural kind of antibiotic as well. And so that also helps with if they've got anything going on internally that I'm not aware of, this is something that can help battle that. Now, I'm not using it, or actually depending on what the days are like and how often I'm applying, but I've found that this works pretty much daily, and most of your fly sprays you will need to put on daily. So I wanted something that would be natural, something that didn't have all the chemicals in it, something that I can actually have the horse benefit on the other side of the scale. Some people will put lemon juice in their fly spray. I don't want to do that. The reason why is because a citrus oil, first off, when you're exposed to a lot of sun, can change the color of your hair coat. So if you want to have highlights in your hair, put some lemon oil in it and go out in the sun. Guaranteed you will do that. You will get highlights. And it's also something that if you're exposed to a lot of citrus, you do not want to be in the sun for at least 24 hours. Okay, that's an important part too, because you can burn easier. I remember a video that went around about two young girls who wanted to lay out in the sun and get a suntan, but next door was a lime tree. So they heard that you could have a better tan with the juice from the lime. So they rubbed it on their bodies, and unfortunately, that's not what they got. They got third-degree burns, okay, by being in the sun. So please don't do that, okay? And I don't want to do that to any of my animals. Now, there is another product that doTERRA has, and I don't have it here with me, but since I have chickens, we have a product called Correct X. Love that product because it has a lot of the same ingredients of what I just talked to you about and put in this. So if you don't want to make your own, okay, this is more economical, but the Correct X comes in a tube, just like your Neosporin, okay? It's a natural antibiotic ointment, okay? And this is another thing, the lavender, the cedar wood, the frankincense, helichrysum, all those are the same things that I have in here. But this goes a lot further. But I have used that if I don't have any made up, or if I feel that's the convenient way to do this. And I just recently had a pony who had a baby, and unfortunately she lost it, actually to me. And she got really bad because she's not one that's been, we haven't worked with her a whole lot, and she was never worked with a lot. And so cleaning her up was a chore. And so she got really raw underneath the tail area. And so we cleaned her up really well, but that's what I used for her. And I tell you, and I did that twice. And of course, cleaning it up makes a big difference, but I put the correct X on there, only because I knew that that would help all that discomfort kind of go away and heal that a lot faster than if I was just washing it with soap and water. And so that's what we did. And it was really nice to see her in a couple of days just out running around like, oh yay, I feel good again. So, and I've also used this for my chickens. So I've had, but you only, and I'm going to repeat, only use a little teeny tiny bit, okay? Depending on, because they're a small animal anyway, and you put it on their feet, okay? Because you don't want to put it anywhere else. Put it on their feet. Why do you put it on their feet? Because it absorbs into their skin, and it's the safest spot you can put it on them, okay? Especially a chicken, or even us. If you're not sure, just put anything on the bottom of your feet. So essential oils can be applied topically wherever the problem is, or the back of the neck, which is that little orbital triangle, that little soft spot back there, or the bottom of your feet. So our feet have the biggest pores, and it sort of soaks into our skin. You can have a experience of an essential oil within 30 seconds when you apply it topically, which is absolutely sounds insane, but it's true. Okay. And then within 20 to 30 minutes, it's in every single cell in your body. So that's the beauty of essential oils. And when you're using essential oils, you want to apply more often than less often, and a little bit more often. So a lot of people will say, well, it didn't work. It's like, well, how often did you apply it? Well, a couple of times. And it's like, no, you got to do it more than that. So it's really important to, if we're trying to battle something, you want to get on top of the virus. And how often do you do that? Every 2 to 3 hours. Sometimes you may do it even every 5 to 15 minutes, depending on what's happening. But we're not going to get into that today because we don't have the time for that. But now we have reasons and a recipe that you can use to help with any animal that you have, and know that. So what you don't do. So if you know that this is a very potent essential oil, you use very little. We once had a chick that unfortunately was, you know, you learn by your mistakes. And it kind of got beat up. It was a day old, and we applied lavender to help it, you know, calm it, and it had a wound. Well, considering it was only a couple of days old at that time, or day old, it totally went to sleep and never woke up. So, because 2 to 3 drops is way too much. And sometimes even 1 drop can be too much. So you have to really think about what you're applying it to, how much fractionated coconut oil or carrier oil do you want to apply with. And I know that, you know, so look at your situation, look at how big your animal is. Now, when you're adding it into like the coconut oil in this direction, it's not going to matter so much. But if you're using the essential oil directly on the animal, then always dilute it with the carrier oil. That's the best way. And you're going to get the best results when you use a carrier oil like the fractionated coconut oil. It actually works better. And according to research, it really does, because it keeps your essential oil in the spot where you want it to. And let's see, what else can I tell you? I think that's about it. Yeah. So so we have our, now this is still liquidy. It's going to take a while for it to solidify. And I'm going to have to add the rest of my oils to it and put it in a container. And which is good because I needed to make some new stuff anyway. That's why I decided to do this today. And because I keep this, like I said, I keep a big jar of this out in my tap room so that anytime I need something, I have something for my horses, because you never know, especially when they get to playing or they get to kicking each other. There's always battle scars, it seems like. for battle wounds. So I can put this directly on them. I know it's going to help heal, and I'm not going to have something with a scar later, hopefully. Now, you do need to know that when you need to call your veterinarian, if it's really major, please call your veterinarian first and have that taken care of. But once the veterinarian has taken care of their part of it, whether they need stitches or with the dog or the cat, you know, treat that first, and then you can use in the healing process, then you have something that you can use. I know some people will have questions about cats, because cats cannot metabolize essential oils the same way as other animals, okay? If you're going to use an essential oil directly on a cat, okay, which you treat that just like if it was a child, you're going to use your fractionated coconut oil with only 1 drop of your essential oil. And you're going to rub it in your hands first. And then you can stroke the hair coat of your cat. Okay, that's the easiest, and that's the best way to do it. Now, there are some essential oils that you do not use on your cats. Peppermint's one of those, because there are certain ketones within essential oils that they do not metabolize. If you feel like it's something that you need to do, then please follow up with a citrus, and that's with anything. Follow it up with a citrus, because citrus oils actually cleanse the liver, so if there's a buildup of ketones, they're going to be able to flush those out, okay? It's no different than if I'm using oregano all the time. So any citrus oil, whether it's wild orange, lemon, lime, you know, whatever citrus that you have, follow up with that. Horses the same way. If you are applying or giving them antibiotics, whether what you like, whether it's oregano or whether it's from the veterinarian, then follow up with lemon in their water if you can, or just simply put lemon on them so that they can, it'll help in flushing out the ketones or the toxins that build up from those medications. Because essential oils sometimes are no different than a medication. They do build up toxicity sometimes in our organs if we use it on a constant daily basis. Certain ones like oregano, which is a natural antibiotic. So think about that the next time that you are looking for something in your cabinet. And there goes my phone. I forgot to put it on vibrate. So anyway, we're kind of over time anyway. So thank you for being on the call today. I've taken a little bit more of your time, and I appreciate you being here. And I wish that my phone would stop ringing. Good music, right? Anyhow, thank you for joining me today. I hope you found some value in today and some ideas. And if feel free to share this with anybody that you know. And if this is something that you want to incorporate into your lifestyle and you want to learn how to get the essential oils into your own home, then get with the person who shared the video with you, and we'll certainly help you in getting that information and getting it for the best price. Anybody that is looking to be on this call on we do this every Monday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, which I wish they'd get rid of. My internal clock says I don't like this, which I'm sure a lot of other people are that way too. Anyway, you can text the word, the @ Heaven's Oil to 81010, and you can listen. You can get the live and the replay links directly to your phone. So again, that's the @ Heavens, HEAVENS Oil, and you text that to 81010, and you'll get the live and replay links for this particular call. And You guys have a great week. We will see you next week, and I think I will be talking about some new oils that doTERRA just put out not too long ago. So I'm excited for that. I haven't got mine yet. They're sitting at the post office. I got to go get them. So we'll see you guys next week. Have a great one. Thanks, everyone.